Welcome to Columbus, Nebraska. We have folks that have driven here tonight from all over the 1st Congressional District. We have folks here from other parts of the great state of Nebraska, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for caring about your country. Thank you for being patriots. Thank you for taking the time to come here.
Okay, next question. What are your plans to cut Social Security?
I want to be this is a very easy question for me to answer. So, as you know, we are in the process of reconciliation, budget reconciliation. Under the federal law, well, it's okay. We're just getting started here. Under the federal law, you cannot change anything in the law as it relates to Social Security in the reconciliation plan. The Senate parliamentarian would never approve it. The federal courts would never allow it. Any changes to Social Security are not on the table, and I will not cut your Social Security. It is a promise between you and the federal government. So any idea that Social Security is somehow in peril or in jeopardy is absolutely false. It is absolutely false, and it cannot even be dealt with in the reconciliation process. So that is a very clear answer to that. Next question.
Okay, next question is something similar. What about Medicare?
Well, Medicare is in mandatory spending. There are going to be, anytime you talk about Medicare or Medicaid, we have to find a way to deliver services to the people that they've been promised to. People over the age of 65 rely on Medicare in this country. At the end of the day, when you talk about health services, there may be changes to systems, but they ultimately should not affect the care provided to Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. Here's the deal. That $36 trillion number is not going away. It is not going away unless we deal with Medicare and Medicaid. Let's remain calm. Let's remain calm. Let's remain calm. And let me remind you, if you're going to ask me a question, let me answer the question. If you're going to ask me a question, you have to let me answer the question. And here's the challenge with this bad banter right here. The longer this goes on, the fewer questions we get to. The fewer options that people that have driven 2 hours here get to hear me answer a question. I understand you're upset. I understand you're upset. But you're not moving this process forward. You're stopping it. I would suggest you put a card in to ask a question. From where I sit, 2 things have to happen. We have to cut our spending annually. We have to cut our spending, and we have to grow the economy. Okay, we've got multiple conversations happening here. I need you to put a card in if we're going to have this conversation. There's 2 ways to address this $36 trillion problem. One is to cut spending, more than $1 trillion a year, and the other is to grow the economy. And we're not going to grow the economy if we don't pass the 2017 extension of the tax cuts that you're already living under. There's 2 ways. There's 2 ways to get out of this mess. We've got to grow the economy, and we've got to cut spending. And when you cut spending, you have to make difficult decisions. And those difficult decisions mean finding government efficiencies. And for that reason, for the first time in decades, we have a president that is cutting spending. And he is looking to find efficiencies. And I support that effort.
You're cutting the rug out from under future scientists who might develop new treatments, new diagnoses, so that my daughter, when she's your wife's age, might not get the most up-and-coming research available to her. You are disfunding NIH, Johns Hopkins, the National Science Foundation, And you can't put that on anybody but yourself and your GOP colleagues. I would like to know how you personally stomach that decision. Thank you.
Anybody that has been through a close relative or a friend or a family member with cancer knows how deeply personal that is. And I have had that experience with my own wife. So yes, I do know what that process is like. Here's where we're at. We're at the dawn of a new presidential administration. The 119th Congress is about 60 days in. We have the Department of Government Efficiency that is looking at and has some, yeah. It is looking at the funding that's available for research, and in some cases that funding has either been identified or suspended or is on hold or has been terminated. I don't believe we're in a process today, at this moment, to say in any way that medical research funding is going away. I support medical research funding. If it is currently paused, if there is a concern, we take those up individually, and ultimately where we need to go is to a balanced budget. A balanced budget where we... How can you be against a balanced budget? How can you be against a balanced budget? All right. All right. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. You look at President Joe Biden's last State of the Union address. He had a proposal called the millionaire's tax. President Biden proposed a millionaire's tax. And let me tell you, if it was enacted, it would raise $50 billion a year. That's about 200 times less than what we need to address that. So even your proposal to tax the rich fails wholeheartedly. Oh, and also, by the way, that would also hamper our nation's growth. If you're going to ask me... All right, next question. Last November, Americans wanted a change. They wanted a president that would deal with issues like this. They wanted a president that would usher in a new era, a golden era for America. And I know there are some of you in this room that are very concerned about our 47th president, but let me tell you something. A great majority of Nebraskans and those in the 1st District voted to elect Donald Trump president in this state. Now, by virtue of the fact that he's the president, I intend to work with him. I intend to seek out many of the reforms that I believe he's focused on, which is rebuilding our military, securing our border, which, by the way, is more secure today than it has been in the past 40 years. I intend to work with President Trump to find efficiencies in our government, and I intend to work with President Trump to get us fair trade around the globe. In the situations where I disagree with the president, I will use the opportunities I have as the vice chairman of the Main Street Caucus of 85 Republican members, and my opportunities to visit the White House and share those concerns with the administration. I will work behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and in front of the cameras to do what I think is in the best interest of the people of the 1st District of Nebraska. And the way I do that is I get input from people like you. I get calls from people across Nebraska. I visit with Nebraskans. I read a call log every single day. I'm sure many of you have been on there in recent days. Every single day, I read every single call that comes in. I call people back when I have time. Sometimes when I'm getting 450 calls a day, it's hard to be very effective there. 2024, COVID taught us that if we aren't a nation that makes things, if we aren't a nation that builds things, if we aren't a nation that controls our own destiny by celebrating and growing manufacturing, we are losing to China. President Trump is interested in fair trade. As we saw during his first term, President Trump successfully used tariffs to rewrite. The only way this is going to work, folks, is if I get the opportunity to answer the question. What message are you sending to these Columbus High School students? I don't think your high school civics teacher would endorse that behavior.
They wouldn't endorse yours either, so it's okay.
President Biden, however, did not engage on trade, and at the conclusion of his term, President Trump returns and is going to use tariffs to right-size these relationships. We need to be a nation that makes things. And of all communities in the 1st District, Columbus, Nebraska makes things. This town is a manufacturing juggernaut because of the men and women who have built this as a manufacturing community. And what I'm telling you is that we have to stand up and support this effort, because there will be an adjustment period, but we will be a lot better off down the road. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that. And for the record, well, I think
You've stated that in the arena of sports, Republicans will continue to fight for the next generation of women. And how are you doing that?
Well, first and foremost, to protect the rights of women, we have to make sure that we keep boys out of women's sports. And an overwhelming majority of Americans believe that that is and should be the case.
All right, thank you. We will go to the mic.
All right, our next question is here.
Okay, I did want to thank you to start with for having this town hall. I know congressional leadership didn't want you to, so I appreciate that. But I actually want to talk more about Elon Musk. So why is Elon Musk a better person to audit our government for waste, fraud, and abuse than the inspectors general that Donald Trump fired? Because Elon Musk has conflicts of interest out the wazoo. He gets $40 billion a year in federal contracts from the federal government.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you slow down a little bit?
Elon Musk gets $40 billion a year in funding from the federal government. What makes you think that has no conflict of interest, that he has no conflict of interest? Do you think he would cut that before he would cut our Medicare or our Social Security or our jobs?
I support Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency. Next question. And I think at the end of the day, we are, 60 days into the Trump administration. We have made tremendous progress on securing the border. We have made tremendous progress in getting Americans to think about how we're going to deal with this. And these issues aren't easy to solve, and it's going to take a process where you communicate and I communicate and we talk about where the country's going to try and find common ground.
I just think we all deserve to know why you choose to support a president who has constantly sexually harassed young women and his own daughter. I mean, the comments he made about his own daughter. Standing this far away from you, I feel so uncomfortable in my own high school. I don't know why you choose to support someone like that who's hurting me every day. I just want to know what you think about that and all the comments he's made about women that way is like sexually harassing everybody and his own daughter, the things he makes about his own daughter, it's disgusting.
First of all, if you're a student here at Columbus Public Schools, you are very fortunate to go to a school that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And I would imagine the school administrators here and the teachers have a tremendous amount of respect for you. And you should feel safe here. This should be a place where you feel safe. The people of Columbus are good people, and they want you to have the best opportunity at an education and opportunities in life as possible. And I want that for you too. As it relates to your question, you know, at the end of the day, we need, as Americans, and I'm trying to do it tonight, many of you are trying to do it tonight, we need to treat each other better. We need to understand that these issues aren't red or blue issues. These are American issues. Next question.
Okay, next question. Okay, we will go to the box questions. What will you do to support farmers affected by cuts in U.S. aid or by immigration policies?
Well, first of all, we went through this in 2017 when President Trump was in office the first time, when some of his trade policy affected farmers and ranchers. The federal government provided an economic aid package for our farmers and ranchers, and I did that in December as well. Now, you have to look at the long term to make sure that we keep our farmers and ranchers solvent so that they can continue to feed the world. What was the second part of that question? I want the opportunity to tell you why I showed up here. At the end of the day, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming here tonight. Obviously, we have differences of opinion in some areas, but I also think I saw some nods, some heads nodding from time to time on issues that maybe we haven't thought about. Ultimately, I am accountable to you. You will decide whether I do this job. The people of the 1st District will decide whether I do this job. I will continue to do town halls. I will continue to show up in person. I will be in Lincoln in August. I will be in other communities as necessary. I will treat you with respect. I will welcome you to Washington if you're there. I will sit down with you in your communities. I will see you in parades. I will help you with your constituent issues, and I will do my best job I can to do everything to serve you as a member of the United States Congress. To those of you that are obviously agitated, I would say this. This is a big country, kids. Democracy is in fact messy, right? I hope that you see that the promise of this country is still very much alive, and that getting involved in public service, while it can be difficult at times, has a tremendous amount of value. And you can do things for people that are in need. At this point, I want to encourage you, if you have any questions, to reach out to my staff, which are out there. I encourage you to maintain a relationship with our office on the phone, on email, and in person. I will continue to show up. I will continue to take your suggestions. With that, I want to thank the good people at Columbus Public Schools. I want to thank the law enforcement officers that are here tonight. And I want to thank all of you for coming. Good night.